Welcome to another episode of the Sipping and Tripping podcast, where we connect with amazing people. Today's topic is optimism and realism. I am your host, Desmond Black, and the person that's sipping and tripping with me today is someone who was named Woman Owned Business of the Year by Key for Women in 2014. She was voted Best Small Business in Vermont in 2013. She has sat on the board for AFSP in all seats for over 10 years. She is a mother of two amazing kids and is soon to be a grandmother. She is a dog mom of two black Labradors. She is none other than Miss Heather Holt. It's an honor, privilege, and a pleasure to have you on my show today. So without further ado, how's your week going for you so far?
Amazing, Desmond. Thank you so much. That was more of an introduction than I could have ever done for myself.
I appreciate that. I appreciate. So on my platform, I like to conversate, educate, and entertain. Now, for starters, I want to ask you this. So what was it? What is one second? I forgot what the AFSP. What is that?
It's the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Okay. And hold on, let's make sure my microphone. I'm not here. Okay. All right. So you have your own podcast. Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that and what made you start it?
Sure. So the name of my podcast is Change Happen Then What? And it's been a long time coming. It was born just recently, actually. Um, but I'm an audio engineer by nature, years in the making. And I'm a storyteller. So I like to tell stories about change and what happened after that change. So my first change story happened when I lost my brother to suicide 22 years ago. So that's why I sat on that board for so long, after that first change happened moment. So I lost my smile when I lost my brother, and that moment changed my life forever. And I know that telling stories helps people kind of get through their grief and through those moments. So I think that when we can tell people stories, we can actually help other people heal because no one story is the same. And when you
Right.
start to tell those stories, they start to hear things differently. So I heard that by sharing in my head, I heard this in my head. And this is how my podcast started, right? So I heard that if I started telling these stories, people would start to hear something that they needed to hear. Because I'd been telling these stories, like, in my own community for years, in my store and in these other places. So
Right.
that's how the podcast was born.
Okay. Okay. And what can they find your podcast?
Um, Change happened, then what? You can search it on any platform, Apple, Spotify, YouTube. Um, you can go to my website. That's the easiest way, changehappenedpodcast.com. And then all platforms are there. But yeah, that's the easiest way to get there.
Okay. Okay. And how long have you been doing the podcast?
I'm on episode number 10, will come out this Thursday. And
Okay.
it's grown exponentially. I can't even believe how fast it's grown and how the response has been to what I've been doing. I'm floored and blown away
Right.
by the response of these stories.
Right. Yeah, I can relate to that because I know when I first started, I was a little shaky in the beginning. Like I'm a talker, I love to talk, but going into something new like the podcast, I was like, oh my God, am I gonna be able to sustain conversation for 90 minutes? So at first I was like, it was 2 hours. I was like, it was 2 hours, but I shortened it to like now my time frame that I look for is 90 minutes. And I was so concerned about not hitting that mark. But once I started doing it, I started getting a little bit more comfortable. Matter of fact, it's funny because it's called the Sipping and Tripping podcast. So in the beginning, when I was drinking, in the beginning, I used to drink way too much. And so after a while, the longer it went on, my words were slurring. And, I don't drink anymore. And now I sound more professional. I get my words out better. I enunciate things. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot better. And plus, health wise, I feel a lot better. So yeah,
Right.
it's good. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people's like, you don't drink, you don't smoke. What do you do? But I don't need none of that. I'm all about positivity and progression, and I don't need nothing that's gonna slow me down.
Yeah,
So
I hear you.
so I understand when you say when you say like it makes you feel good that you're about to be in episode 10. Because this for me is episode 55. Um, it hasn't been as consistent as I wanted to, but I kind of make up for it though. Like it's been, if I miss weeks, it's been weeks that I might do 3 episodes, so it'll compensate or make up for weeks that I miss. So that's the way I rationalize in my head, anyways. So, okay. So where were you born and where did you grow up?
So, born and raised in Vermont, and I'm still here. But I did grow up here, but I left when I was 17, explored the world, and came back after my brother passed away. So I wanted to raise my kids here. That was a really important piece of my life that I always wanted to bring them back here and raise them here, which I did.
Okay, that's family is definitely important. I like to tell a lot of people that a lot of people take the family and close friends for granted, and then it takes for them to come face to face with adversity or some kind of conflict in their life where now they want to go to that friend, now they want to go to that family member, and that family member or friend might look at you and say, "No, I'm okay. Don't
Hmm.
don't call me when you want something or when you need something or when you're down and out. Call me because I'm there for you." So
Hmm.
that's why for me family is big and it's important for me. And whether I get a response or not, I still reach out to them, right? Because I don't reach out to people expecting certain things. I don't do for people expecting to get something in return. I do for people out of goodness of my heart, and that's just who I am. So like I said, whether they reach out to me or not, I at least reach out to them. It helps me sleep at night. So,
I can promise you this, you'll never know if there's a tomorrow with anybody.
hmm absolutely. Um, so okay. So, do you have any siblings?
So my brother is my only sibling.
Okay.
I have my in-laws, of course, but other than that, he's my only sibling.
Right. Because yeah. Okay. And then now, is this the one that passed or a different?
Yep, yep, no, he's the one.
All right. And I love that. When you took that loss and you still speak of him as if he's in the present. A lot of people lose sight of that, and so I've heard people say I don't have any siblings, and and they forget about that. Like my mother, one of my mother's brothers, he passed, but she still speaks of him as if he's still living. So
Mm.
that's powerful and that's good. So I like that. Um, so what do you do for a living?
Um, Besides my podcast, I'm an accountant by day.
Hmm.
It's
Is it
not
is
my
that is that
choice.
is that hard work?
I mean, I guess it is to some because a lot of people aren't good with numbers, but to somebody who's good with numbers, it's pretty
What,
easy.
what, how's it going, Caesar? Yeah, I mean, I've seen things online. I've heard stories, and I was like, you deal with numbers all day. I'm like, that's got to be nerve wracking. Nerve
I can
wracking. I couldn't
I
imagine.
I told you that life is pretty awesome and this week is pretty great, but what I can tell you is that since last Friday, our computers and our accounting software has been broken. So
Mm.
my work life has been horrible.
Oh man, so you work. So do you go to an office or you work from home?
No, I have to go to an office.
Oh, okay, okay,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, okay. So, are you married or have you ever been married?
Oh yeah, I've been married and I'm married. I'm married to my high school sweetheart. He's my one and
Oh,
only. So yeah.
so how long has that marriage been? You said high school. Oh my God.
I know, I know. We actually didn't get back together until after we were both married before, and we both had our own children. So we both have been
Okay, okay.
married for 5 years now. We've been together for eight. So, but yes, it was a long time coming, and everything is fantastic. We have our two baby dogs and our four adult children, which is probably better off that way.
See, ain't that amazing how life comes full circle? Y'all know each other and dated in high school, right? And y'all went astray for a little bit, but life brought y'all back together. That's got to be a blessing and a wonderful feeling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Because
it
a lot of
was.
times, we like to say exes are exes for a reason. A lot of us say that like I've been there, done that, right? But like I said, the fact that you guys came back together, that's powerful.
Well, I would have loved to say that exes were exes for a reason, but the only reason we broke up was because I was leaving to go to college.
Okay,
And I was going to Florida, and there was really no reason for us to break up otherwise.
right.
So we kind of life just kind of moved us on, and we weren't ready to settle down at that point in time. And Um, unfortunately, life happened in between. And, um,
Mm,
ironically enough, he had a daughter in 1999, and I had a son in 1999, and he had a son in 2002, and I had a daughter in 2002. So, we had very parallel lives while we were living apart, and by the time we got back together, our lives were very similar again.
right, right, right. That's good. That's good. I mean, I love the longevity, man. I always said, any one of my elders that have been in a relationship for a long time, I always say, when I get older, I want to be like you. Like longevity is it's a great thing, right? Because not just for yourself, just from the outside looking in, right? You motivate other people and you inspire them to stick with their relationships. A lot of people
Mhm,
get into relationships for the wrong reasons and they get out of relationships for the wrong reasons. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people want that
mhm,
new shiny toy. A lot of people they say, oh, this person is a little bit more attractive than well, if you had that kind of mindset, then that person maybe it's not right for you because now you're looking for
yep,
something else.
yep,
That's another thing that people lose sight of. They take that for granted, their relationships. And that person, their significant other might give them the world. They might be the best fit for them. But now you looking for appearances and not looking overall, and then you just dig yourself a hole. So like I
yep.
said, I'm all about longevity. Okay. So the $1 million question: are you religious?
So I love that you asked this question. I've been listening to your podcast for a while, and I've heard you ask so many people this, and you said that almost everybody has said the same thing to you. And they've
About being
all said
spiritual?
yeah, they've all said they're spiritual, right? But they're not religious. So I'm going to tell you that I'm a recovering Catholic.
Okay.
I have been a born again Christian. I
Okay.
studied Sikhism, Judaism, and I know a lot about a lot of religions. And what I know to be true about all of them is they all preach one underlying truth:
Right.
love.
Love. I say that a lot too on the podcast. Love. The Bible, you know, it's in parables, right? It's the Bible is like a book of poetry for me. Like the Bible, it's yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's a guideline for me more so, and it's all about love, right? Any
Hmm.
any passage, any scripture in the Bible, if you read it, it all comes back to the word love.
Hmm. And I really, and not everybody believes in this. I think that we I have an underlying belief that we are all just spiritual beings in human bodies trying to figure things out. And if you have faith in something, it's better than having faith in nothing. And I'm not don't really care what you believe that is. It can be whatever you want it to be. I have no judgment around what that is for you. Um,
Right.
like I said, I've studied a lot and understand a lot, and truly believe that if you have faith in something, you are on the right path.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I believe in a higher power. Me personally, I just don't believe in the Bible as it's written, right? But I do believe in a higher power.
Hmm.
It's one of those things where it's just it's too many questions that go unanswered or people can't answer it, right? Like for instance, you say, well, if there's no God, if there's no such thing as a God or higher power, how are we able to walk amongst this earth? How are there trees? How are there buildings? How is it this? How is it that? So can't nobody put their finger on it and explain it. So it has to be a higher power. So
Hmm.
for me, that's as far as that goes. I have dibbled and dabbled in the Bible, and I went out and bought a Bible after I said I would never do it. I bought it like last year, I want to say, and I read it from time to time. I mean, I was consistent with it every day because I had also bought like a study Bible, and it tells you what days to read, what chapters or what verses. So I was doing that for a while. So I wouldn't say I'm well versed in it, but I am knowledgeable of the Bible, and I like thought provoking things, and I believe that when you read the Bible, it's thought provoking. It forces you
Hmm.
to put on your thinking caps and just really think and apply your intellect. So.
What if you thought about the word God as an acronym, and it was as the generator, the organizer, and the destroyer, and not as a
Mm,
being,
I like that. Actually, let me write that down. You said, hold on, the generator.
the organizer, and the destroyer.
I like that. Right. So now, okay, if you break it down like that, like I said, that makes sense. Somebody had to generate it, right? Another word for generate is to start something. So somebody had to start everything in life
Hmm.
or organize it.
Things
That's
had
how
to
we
be.
able to.
Hmm.
That's how we able to coexist and keep things moving, and then destroy it. We all die one day.
Hmm.
Our number is always called. So I like that.
Same with nature, right? In nature, it's the same thing. The seed
Yeah.
drops, it organizes itself in nature, and then it
Hmm.
destroys itself in nature. Animals are
Okay.
the same way.
I love it. That's deep. I
So
like that.
I've studied a lot, Desmond. I've studied a lot.
You sound like my younger brother. Now, my younger brother, he also studied a lot. He's actually well versed, and it's a lot of times he might tell me a scripture or tell me something, and I go back and I look it up, and I'm like, dang, he right again. He studied the Quran. He studied a whole bunch of stuff. He introduced me to the Apocrypha. You know what the Apocrypha is?
I don't know what that is.
So the Apocrypha is the missing books that they say is from missing from the
Oh,
Bible.
oh, okay, yep.
So it gets deep. So when you see that, you're like, oh, okay, it opens your eyes a little bit more
Hmm.
and makes you think. And it's like I took it a step further, and I googled it. I went to the library and got books on the apocrypha and stuff like that. And even like it said like Roman literature and stuff. They say that it was a such thing as an apocrypha. I'm like, that's wild. It's crazy to think that when the Bible came to the states and it came through customs that they did away with some of the books. It's wild like that.
Man is terrible human beings.
Yeah,
Man ruins things.
yeah. We
We
are
put our
our own
minds
destroyers.
in we put our minds in things. We don't
Hmm.
Man creates their own knowledge base of stuff. When you take your mind out of stuff, things can make sense. Look in nature and things will start to make a little more sense, in
I
my
like that.
opinion.
I'm with you. I'm with you. It sounds good. Oh, so besides the podcast, is there anything else you do in your spare time when you're not working?
I hunt. I spend time with my husband and my dogs. We spend a lot of time in nature. We build things. Um, our my studio was built by my husband. We like to work with wood. So,
Okay.
yeah, we built a lot of outbuildings on our property. We like to
Nice.
hang out in nature. So, yeah, we build a lot and we spend a lot of time with our dogs and family. And like I said, I'm getting ready to be a Grammy. So, nesting for that.
So um in the process of or about to become a grandmother, how does that make you feel? Is it weird or is it?
Well, I don't know, really. I mean, I'm pretty excited about it because I think I think I think it's gonna be nice to be able to be young enough, like I'm only 50. So I think it's gonna be nice to be young enough to be able to be in their life for a while. Like
Right.
my kids were, my daughter's 23, my son's 25, my parents are in their 70s. It's nice for them to be able to have grandparents for a while. I was fortunate enough to have my grandparents until they were in their 90s. Like, I think
Okay.
grandparents are like a crucial role for a child. Like, as a parent, you have to be strict, you have to raise them, you have to give them rules. And as a grandparent, you get to do things a little bit differently that you didn't get to do with your own children. So I think
Right.
there's like a special bond that you can have with a grandchild that you don't get with your that you don't get with your own children. So I'm pretty
Right.
excited to see what that looks like.
Okay. That's good. That's good. All right. So now the situation that happened with your brother, right? You said it was 22 years ago, right?
Hmm.
So do you have any idea of like what led to that or what was the reasoning?
Yeah, sure. So, I think the underlying reasoning for any person that dies by suicide is always mental illness,
Hmm.
at the root, because I don't think you can take your life otherwise. This is just from years of research and doing this work. But ultimately, he was addicted to drugs, and he was, probably going to die anyhow. So, I don't say that so nonchalantly, but I remember when we were kids, my brother even once looking at me and saying, Heather, I'm probably not going to live to see 40.
Mm.
And just kind of being like, Michael, that's really not a nice thing to say to your sister,
Right.
you know. But It it was one of those conversations that just stuck with me forever, and he didn't
Right.
live to see 40. He was 34 when he passed away,
Mm.
and, unfortunately, he left 2 babies behind and, um, in a family that loved him very much and friends that loved him very much, and, sometimes life is just really, really hard, and addiction is really, really hard. And I don't want to say he had it harder than anybody else, um, because that's not true. He had the same very loving family that I did, but he had a missing piece. And although my mother loved him very, very much, it wasn't his biological mother. And my mother adopted him when she married my father. And I didn't know this until I was a little bit older when they finally told me. Um, and uh, so this was a piece that was really, really hard for him to grapple with because he never reconciled with his mother before she passed away, and he was given the opportunity to. Um, at one point in his life when he was about 14, and he chose not to because she had abandoned him when he was 2,
Right.
and he was mad. So there was a lot of anger pent up in him, and I think that that just kind of ate away at him for a very long time. So I think all of those things piled on top of each other, just, all of the love in the world just sometimes can't fix something that feels so hollow inside yourself.
Right. Man, and I get that, man. Like the one thing you said is about, about the whole addiction thing, right? Like, so for me, that resonates with me. Like, I never been an addict or anything, but my father was an off and on drug addict for many years, most of my childhood. And I just watched as it consumed him. I watched him self sabotage himself and make poor decisions. I mean, he was an LPN, a licensed practical nurse. He was a registered nurse, and he was making good money, and he had a good career. And he lost all that due to drugs. And so it just wasn't good. And as a adolescent, as an infant, even growing up and seeing certain things, a kid shouldn't see certain things like that. So it resonates with me, and that's why, like, I see other people that are addicts, and I try to talk to them. It could be a stranger, and I try to talk to them. I don't try to preach to them. I just try to spread the word. And as long as they allow me to speak, I'll continue to speak, because I'm all about positivity and trying to help people, uplift people, and things of that nature. So that's another thing, man. A lot of people counted my father out. I was like, you're not going to live too much longer. Keep doing the same thing. And just like you, my father's in his 70s. And, I make it a priority to go down to North Carolina at least once a year to go see him. And it's just tough, because when I go see him, he's like a shell of himself, but he's still alive. And I'm thankful for that. And, it's touching every time I go see him. So
Hmm.
I
Yeah,
understand.
I'm grateful for you for that because his boys, unfortunately, not only did they lose their father, but they lost their mother 2 years later, watching her have to go through what you had to watch your father go through. And
Right.
I'm not sure what was harder for those boys to go through. Um, watching their mother or losing their father. Both were just as devastating, but they're both in their, 20s, 30s now, and they're doing actually very well, as grown men, which, they could have very easily made a different choice than what they did, and I'm grateful that they didn't.
Absolutely. All right. So how did it affect your mental health when you first found out the news?
Well, not awesome. But I think um some people are just, I said this the other day, but I think some people are born with a different ability to handle tragedy than other people are. I don't know how else to say it, but I've always kind of handled tragedy differently than other people have. And I did go seek mental health counseling, almost immediately after my brother died. And um, I did that for years after he died
Mm,
and processed a lot, and
mm,
that was super helpful to deal with his loss
mm.
and, some other stuff that was going on in my life at the time, and like my own life choices for that matter, and um, getting through that, and um, yeah, and I think I came out a much better person on the other side from doing that. So I'm a huge advocate for any kind of talk therapy or
Mm.
integrative therapy or any kind of mental health therapy somebody can get when they're going through a hard time.
Right. And I'm glad that you mentioned it, because my next question was going to ask you, what did you do um, to help you through the grieving process, right? Like, another thing that's big for me on my podcast is mental health and therapy, and traumas, because I know the effects it have on people. It's a stranglehold that it really have on people, and a lot of people don't take the time out to research it and to just think about those things. Like, I mean, I still suffer from childhood traumas, but I'm in a better space now than I was like 10 years ago, right? So I don't seek validation from people. The only person I seek validation from is myself, and I know I've made a whole 360, and my life is, like I said, is in a better position right now, and I'm happy for that. So yeah, I just keep doing the work. That's it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's really important. I think one of the things that's super important is understanding,
Hmm.
acceptance, and being really honest with yourself. I think if we're not honest with ourselves, we're not gaining any traction. That's a huge piece of it. Um,
Right.
but yeah, so I definitely did a talk therapy. And I also did Reiki, which was huge. I don't know if you know anything about just energy clearings or energy
Yeah,
work at all.
I had a couple people into that was guests on the podcast, so they filled me in because I before that I had no knowledge of it, and I've been told that it works, from previous guests and people that's went to classes and so I've heard it worked. So I don't know. I never
Yeah.
tried it, but maybe one day.
Yeah. I'm a Reiki master too. I know you listed all my other stuff off, but so Reiki master. So I did it first, and then I also learned a, a lot about intuition,
Right.
and diving deep into like trusting my own intuition and like into the spirit world and finding out about what the spirit world was all about. And when I dove into that, that was super helpful for me in the grieving process because I felt so connected to my brother in that space.
Right.
Because understanding that you're not so far away was just so helpful,
Mm.
because they're really not so far away, and they don't have to be so far away if you don't want them to be. So, um, and then I even did some hypnotherapy and some past life regression work for some of my trauma from my childhood, which was so helpful.
Mm.
Yeah, so I did a little bit of everything because I am like just a doer. Like and I want to know things. Like, it kinda drives my husband crazy because I ask a lot of questions because I want to I wanna fill my brain. I wanna
Right. Right.
know everything. So if I don't know the answer to something, I wanna find the answer to it because I
Right.
wanna know, right? So, like, if we're doing something and and we're putting the board on the wall and it's going in this way. I want to know why is it going this way and not that way. Like, I have to understand why the building is being put together this way because I have to know, right? So,
Right.
so that's how I learn. That's just I'm a learner. So that's
Right.
just who I am. So
Now that's what.
I just dove in.
Yeah, that's one of the things I learned from my father and I took away from my father and I instill into my kids, right? Like, you're never too old to learn, right? And knowledge is power, knowledge is key to success. So just like you, like, hey, I ask a bunch of questions. I do a lot of research. I want to know as much as I can about as much as possible. You know what I'm saying?
And I don't
Um,
need all of the knowledge. I just want to know, and then I'll hold on to the shit that I need to keep.
mm. Well, this is the thing. You never know who might enter your life that might need that bit of knowledge, right? And for me, like, it gives me great pleasure to be able to give somebody knowledge and insight on certain things because I become a role model at that point, and somebody that grew up with childhood trauma, somebody that had abandonment issues, that always seek validation and acceptance from people. For me, that's the acceptance piece that I've been missing. When somebody look up to me, right? It puts a smile on my face and makes me feel like I won the lottery. It really do. And that's one thing that I try to get past. Like, my therapist told me, like, just embrace it. Like, it makes you happy to be able to uplift somebody or give them insight or to offer a mentorship to somebody. embrace it. Don't run away from it. So that's something I'm working on as well.
So I tell you this funny story. So I used to have this store. It was called Candles and Creations, but we were like in this little spot in a strip mall. But the strip mall was its own kind of entity, and then
Hmm.
we were in off to the side in another little spot with like a hairdresser and a shoe store, and we were kind of off to the side, and it was kind of tucked back. And I say that because it's important, because somehow people would find our door and they would open it up, and they weren't actually there for the store. They were just
Right.
like, "Can you give me directions to, or can you tell me where this is?" And I'm like, "Jesus, can somebody just please come in and buy something? Because I really need to keep the store open, right?" But so all of a sudden, I got coined Google Heather because everybody was coming in to ask for questions and answers. And for some reason, I'd have the damn answer to whatever they needed. So
Right.
it was this big joke that everybody would come in and just start asking these questions because it was all inside my brain.
All right.
And I'm like, okay, we got to change the energy around this a little bit because I need somebody to come in with some money and start spending it.
Right.
Not just come in and ask quick questions. But
Right. Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's all the information. It's like all in there, but I just got to get it out.
Right. Right. Chef, she's from Vermont, by the way. I see you asked where you was from.
I can't so okay, I gotta tell you another little story. I don't both of these eyes, they look like they have glasses on them, and they do, but neither one of them actually work.
What the lenses you mean?
Like the eyes, like I can't I'm almost blind in both of them.
Oh, okay. I mean, you told me about the one. I didn't know about the other. Yeah. See, it was so when your brother passed, who would you say your biggest support systems were?
Oh, man, my mom and dad. I mean, really, just yeah, we were just together. That was that was who I had. My mom and dad.
Right. And that's powerful, man. Like me and my
Yeah,
mom, we clash all the time, but I will say
yeah.
this, man, my mom has always been the backbone. She's always been the rock. She's always been the glue that held me together. And like I said, we bump heads all the time, but the love is genuine and love is real. And Chef
Yeah.
Dennis is actually my older brother. Same thing with him. He's just always been there. Um, you know, we don't agree on everything, but he's always there, and that's what's more important.
Yeah,
And
you
my
don't have to
father,
agree on everything.
now my father, like it's crazy. We didn't really establish a relationship until I want to say 20, either 20 or 21. So prior to that, like it was just like whatever. That's my donor. He gave birth. Well, he assisted in my existence. But once we established that relationship, it's been good. I talk to him as much as I can. He's in North Carolina, like I said, and yeah, it's always emotional speaking to him. Like one of the last times I talked to him, he was saying how he had his like glaucoma and stuff. And it's just I don't know. And like I said, I took a picture of him, well, me and him together when I was down there last, because like you said, you never know who's gonna be there tomorrow.
Yeah.
And he's so stubborn. The doctors tell him all the time, you cannot do anything strenuous. You should not be working. You should not be lifting things. And he's just stubborn. And he gets it from his father, where, his father, he passed. And one of the things was, he underlying conditions because he continued to try to work. And so even in old age, trying to lift things, it's like 200, 300 pounds. And that's how my father is. He got two torn rotator cuffs and he still do odd jobs when he trying to haul things and lift things. And I remember when I went down there last year, he had sliced his finger to the bone, no stitches or nothing, and he usually used duct tape and just put layers and layers and layers on it. And one day I said, "Pop, you gotta take that off. You gotta look at it. And it's so affected. It was like green and all. But he was so stubborn. He would not go to the hospital, go to get checked out. He kept saying, "Listen, I gotta pay for this house. I gotta pay this house off. Um, I don't have the money to sit here and tell me I'm gonna pay a doctor or anything like that." And that was hard for me. I'm like, you have to take care of yourself. And I tell my mom the same thing. You have to take care of yourself. Appreciate it, Chef. So okay, let me ask you this. Um, is the quality of grief after suicide different from grief after any other types of loss? And if so, should our support systems reflect this difference?
So I think that um, I think that it's getting better. So I think that when I lost my brother 22 years ago, it was horrible. And there was such a stigma around suicide that when I said suicide, it was like I'd say I had four eyes, but it was like I had four heads, basically,
Right,
and now w- AFSP, all of these big celebrities have come out and they've started talking about mental health, and people have started changing the language. And it, I don't know if you noticed me say it or not, but my brother didn't commit suicide. He died by suicide. So there is a huge difference in the way that we speak
right,
about suicide and the way that we've taught our journalists to speak about suicide that has changed the stigma, which has allowed people to grieve differently also. Because without that, we are we feel alone. We feel like we
right,
can't grieve. And I can tell you that 22 years later, there are days and you don't know when it's going to happen. And it can happen no matter who you lose, really. I mean, really, no matter who you lose, because no time is ever enough when you lose somebody that you love so dearly. Whether it's, a day, whether it's 27 years, or whether it's 93 years, no time is enough. Um, there are days that I lose my shit and do not know how to recover from it.
right,
And really, alls you can do for that person is just love them through it, and there's nothing you can say. But
right,
yes, today it's better than it was 22 years ago. But it's still hard. People still have a hard time saying that they lost somebody by suicide. How many times do you pick up an obituary or a newspaper or read that you lost somebody to suicide? People
right,
don't say it. People
right,
don't write it. It is a rare occasion where somebody will admit in an obituary that they lost their child, that they lost their husband, that they lost their wife to their own hand.
right. Man, I think,
And
you go ahead.
I'm only going to say this, and I think that until we can actually say that, we're still in the same boat. Because we can say that we lost somebody to cancer, we can say all of these things, but we can't say, because of the mental health stigma around it, that
Right,
they took their own life.
right. And that's the thing about things being stigmatized. Like, that's something that the world, and the community need to go do away without. Like, it's just I don't. It's not a pride thing. I'm not sure what word to use for it. It's just I'm not sure why people run from that. Right? Like, I don't know. It's almost like people are afraid that they're going to be judged by it, and they want to over dramatize it. I mean, dramatize it to. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I can't really put my finger on it, but I understand what you're saying. Like, a lot of people won't put that in obituary.
I'll tell you my theory
What's that?
is not understanding
Right.
and not having the acceptance. So
Mm,
because people don't understand, so nobody understands why somebody would take their own life. It's
right,
selfish. It's this, it's that. People don't understand mental health. Okay,
right.
so I'm going to fast forward for you just for a moment because you know this, I know this. I had a brain tumor, I had it removed, I have a TBI, right? So there's that. You, other than the fact that my face is 100% paralyzed on the right hand side and I have a crooked face now, you wouldn't know that because I don't have a cast on my brain to tell you or on my head to tell you that my brain is broken.
Mm,
When I broke my wrist, when I cut my finger off and I had pins in my finger, when I broke my arm, I had a cast on it and everybody could see it. We can't see this. We don't understand this. And
right.
until we understand this, the stigma's gonna stay.
It's powerful. That's powerful. Mm, You
That's
know,
that's my theory. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for football. I'm grateful for the doctors that are starting to take brains and dissect them. I'm grateful for the research that's being done. Because of all of that, we're starting to get a little bit more conversation. We're
hmm
starting to get a little bit more understanding. We're starting to get a little bit more conversation, and we're starting to get a little bit less stigma.
right. I agree. I agree. I mean, they're definitely taking it a lot more serious. I mean, even in the non-contact sports, they're taking it serious. So
Mhm.
that speaks in volumes. That speaks in growth. So like I said, I also appreciate it. Because like you said, years ago, people looked at things differently. Um, so let me ask you this: how can people and support groups address and process the feelings of guilt and self-blame after experience suicide, like a loss from suicide?
That's a really good question. Thank you for asking that question. I've been processing this one for a very long time. So the first thing you want to do as a survivor of somebody who's died by suicide is to blame yourself. What could I have done?
Mm,
And how could I have done things differently? And um, one, there's nothing you could have done differently. Two, it's never your fault. And probably three, there's nothing I can do to tell you to get rid of the guilt. That's a process that you're going to have to go through on your own to release it.
right. I
But
got you.
it's not your fault. And I will be your first person to sit there for the next 10 years and tell you it's not your fault.
All right. Now, when I asked that, I asked because I've been around survivors of a loss from suicide, and I hear that all the time. Like, I don't think it's ever been a time I didn't hear it where people, relatives or loved ones, they blame themselves. If I would have
Mhm,
loved that person a little bit more, or if I would have answered a call when they
mhm,
called me, or if I
mhm.
would have gave them the money, I hear that
Absolutely.
so often
Mhm,
that's why for me it was
mhm.
important to ask that question.
So I'm going to tell you where my guilt lies, and then I'm going to tell you how I got over it.
Mm,
So I lived it. I lived in another country at the time when my brother died. I lived in Japan.
mm,
I spoke to him in June. We had a wonderful conversation, and I told him I'll be home in November, and I'll talk to you in July because we talked about once a month.
mm,
I'll call you in July. I didn't call him in July, and he died August 13th.
Mm, that's tough. That's tough. And how did you get over that the blame and the feelings that you felt?
He could have called me, and there's nothing I could have done to prevent him.
Mhm.
There was nothing I could have done.
I could
There was
only
nothing I
imagine
could
like
have done.
something like that would take time. I'm pretty sure it took you a long time to get to that acceptance piece. Mm,
22 years. I can still tell
mm.
you our entire last conversation.
Yeah, I mean, and it's one of the things that like you a lot of people see in movies and stuff, and they look at it like, oh, that's just theatrical, but it's real life. Certain things like traumas really replay in your mind constantly and over, and like you said, you can replay that whole conversation. Like, it's people still remember like scents and stuff like that. Like, and it's almost like they
I could
reliving.
almost tell you verbatim, and I think I was on the phone with him for 23 and a half minutes.
Mm, right. So now so we have mentioned stigma before, right? So what are the consequences of the stigma surrounding suicide on bereaved individuals, and what actions can be taken to reduce it?
I don't I don't know if I know how to really answer that question, to be honest with you. The consequences on bereaved individuals?
Well, like the consequence on the stigma, right? The judgment that people put on, like you said before, in obituaries, we oftentimes won't even mention it, right?
I I think that I think that what I think that what people are afraid of by writing the obituary that says what happens
Right.
is what people are gonna think. What people are gonna say. I live in a small town, everybody talks about everything all the time, right? So, I know when
Hmm.
I walk in the store, somebody, I always look at the guy at the table and I say, "Am I in the obituaries this morning?" Because maybe I'm not really here. Just as a joke, but, you
Right.
know, just because I know that's how small the town is.
Right.
So, in that same vein though, but, um there's always somebody talking, so the person writing is afraid of what that person is gonna say,
Right.
how that person is gonna judge, and until we don't care what people think or what people say, it's probably always gonna be there,
Right. And a
you
lot of times
know?
people look at it as a sign of weakness as well. And I think that's nobody wants to be weak or have a loved one be judged or like it's a lot to do with it as well.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you, it's the same as why when your loved one dies of an overdose, you don't let necessarily, "Oh, so and so died." You may
Right.
know why they died, but they didn't say what they died from. They were
Right.
found dead, you know?
Right. Give me 1 second. I thought my computer was charged. Hold on. Sometimes the outlets be problematic for me. I don't know why.
You'll have that.
Let's see. So do you think that suicide prevention strategies that we have set in place, do you think they're sufficient, or do you think there's more things that should be implemented?
I think more people need to learn them, but yes, I think
Mhm.
they're doing a great job at teaching them. Yeah, there's
Okay.
gatekeeper training, there's all kinds of things that the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention to teach other people of, what questions to ask. People are afraid to say, "Are you suicidal?" But that is actually the one question you actually have to ask somebody if you think they're suicidal.
It's funny you said that because I mean, I've even been guilty of it. Almost everything. Like they ask you those, even some jobs they ask you that question, and a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, why are you asking me this question or this question again?" But like I said, I'm guilty of that too. Sometimes I'll be like, "What? Why?" That's because mentally, for me, I feel like I'm in a good space. But it is very important to be asking that question because you never know. It might be somebody out there that's not mentally there.
It,
So
People that are actually suicidal will tell you the truth.
all the time, you think so?
Not always, but a lot of the times they will. I worked in mental health for a long time. So
Mm,
a lot of times when people are suicidal, they will tell you that they are feeling suicidal and you can get them the help that they need. You can
okay,
intervene. I have seen a lot of interventions.
got you. All right. So
So it,
how do
it
you?
is it is important to ask the question.
Absolutely. How do you think that support groups and peer support networks contribute to healing and coping for suicide loss survivors?
So I think that if it's something that works for you, it works for you. And it doesn't work for everybody, but there are a lot of support groups out there for people that have lost somebody to suicide. And when you can um, find a group, a support group that supports, that's run by a mental health practitioner. I think this is the important piece is you want to find
Right.
a group that's run by a mental health practitioner and not just somebody that's not that's not aware of, you know, things. Go to afsp.org and find an actual support group is what I would say because
Yeah.
they're the ones that you want to lean on. Those are the groups that are out there that are good groups that are going to be run by somebody that knows what they're talking about. And those
Right.
groups are actually really helpful. I went to them for quite a while, actually.
Gotcha. So I meant to ask you this earlier, right? So you mentioned that you had a brain tumor removed 4 years ago. So like, do tumors? It just is it normally like a cause, or is it just like a freak thing that happened? Like
Well, I mean, mine was tell me it was probably growing for about 15 years. Um,
Mhm.
it was benign. It wasn't cancerous, so I was fortunate in that regard. It was growing on my seventh and eighth nerve and on my brain stem. By the time they found it, it was considered extra large. So it had to be removed surgically. Um, and so they had to go in through behind my ear to remove it, which means they had to break my hearing nerve. So I'm 100% deaf in my right ear. Um, and they pretty much they didn't break 100% my vestibular nerve, but it's pretty I don't have a lot of balance, but they broke my facial nerve, so the right side of my face is, um, com I say completely paralyzed, but, the right side of my face is paralyzed, but they've done facial reconstructive surgery, which has brought a lot of the outer part of my face back. So there are like 13 nerves that run the outer part of your face, and seven of those 13 nerves were coming back backwards. So they removed half of my face. They took those seven nerves out, left the five good nerves in. And so the good nerve that takes this smile, makes it go upwards because it was going downwards, is now coming up. so you can see that this comes up. But this piece that goes down is the last of the three major surgeries that I've had, and this muscle that's in my bottom of my face right now still hasn't activated. It takes about a year for it to activate, in order for it to like kind of be a little bit more facial symmetric, for my face. So I'm still a little lopsided, but it's getting there.
So, okay, and speaking of that, like how hard was it for you during the healing and recovering process?
Well, having complete facial paralysis was really hard because I'm not sure if you went through and looked at any of my pictures when I was completely paralyzed, but before my before my surgery, I had a pretty big smile and it kind of defined who I was. So I went from having a smile to not having a smile. So that was really hard for me. I had chronic headaches and ended up with a pretty bad TBI, um, out of the situation. So it took about a year for me to get the headaches under control with a neurologist. The TBI still kind of affects me in certain ways, but we deal with that. And, the three major and four minor surgeries that I've had to regain some of my smile is still underway 3 years later. So we're getting there.
Uh, so are you still affected by it, or have you more so come to terms with it?
Um, I think I've come to terms with it for the most part, but there are days. It's a little bit like losing my brother, but I think for the most part, I've come to terms with it because I've figured out how to talk again, which has been one of the biggest, which was one of the biggest pieces, aside from losing my words and kind of the emotional roller coaster that I have from the TBI. Everything in the eye itself, like because the side of my face is paralyzed, like I can't blink this eye. I have a hard contact in this eye. Like this side of my face, like inside my mouth, I don't have any like saliva or like I have to brush this side of my teeth like 3 or 4 times a day. Like there's all kinds of extra stuff you have to do on the side of your face because it's paralyzed that you don't think about. But aside from that, like it, I've I've pretty much just gotten used to it.
All right, I hear you. All right, so I just want to talk about optimism versus practicality a little bit. So by your definition, what would you say the difference between the two are?
Um, well, I've always been told I am the forever optimist because I believe that um everybody is good even when they're not. And I should probably learn that there are some bad people in the world and there are some bad things in the world. So, yeah, that I've had to learn the hard way, but I like to believe that most things are good. So I think
Mm,
that's where optimism is. And practicality, like what you, that's just your everyday kind of like getting through life, I think, right? Like,
right. Yeah, it's basically
That's
like
that's
some people
that's
call
just
it
like
like
that's just getting through life. Like that's just
right.
walking through your everyday life, in my opinion.
Yeah, like some people look at it as and they use the word realism, right? Like when we deal with practical things or practicality, it's just accepting things for what it is. Like, okay, well, this is what's supposed
Oh
to happen every
yeah.
day. That's when you more so have a routine and you say, oh, I got this job to get a paycheck because I gotta pay my bills. So whereas the optimists would be like they're real hopeful. They're like, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
this job and then I'm going to events, right? So I
Yeah.
mean,
No,
for me,
I'm
like
I'm I'm forever the optimist.
Right, right. And I'm a big advocate for optimism. Like you should always be hopeful and always reach for the stars. That's just me. But it's a lot of people that say, "All right, you got to be realistic. Got to live your life being realistic, right?" But you know,
Yeah, my husband's a little bit more of a realist, but I'm more the optimist.
so is optimism an inherent personality trait, or is it a learned skill, in your opinion?
Oh, I think I was born with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now, for like,
I don't remember a time where I ever wasn't optimistic
right
in my
now,
life.
generally speaking, right? Like
But
for
I think you can learn it. I think you can learn it.
you, I'm saying, do you think people are just born with optimism, or is that, you think that's like a learned trait?
So no, actually, I think so. I think I was listening to this actually on a news thing the other day. They say 25% of people are born optimistic, and the other
Mm,
75% of people can learn it if they choose to.
got you. Got you.
So like
Okay.
it can be learned, but you have to learn it.
Okay. I got
So
another good question for you.
I think I was born with it, but yes, I do think you can learn it.
Okay. I got another good one for you. Is a realist simply a pessimist in disguise?
Well, I think it depends on the topic.
Okay.
So if it's something that they want
Hmm.
or something that they believe in, they can just be a realist with a little bit of optimism. And if it's something that they don't want, then they're just being pessimistic.
Right.
Does
I
that make
honestly don't see
sense?
how. Yeah, I get what you're coming from. I mean, I don't see. I don't understand how anybody could go through life being a pessimist, though. Uh,
Uh, I've
that's
accused
a
my
lot. That's
husband
a.
of being a pessimist sometimes. I'm like, don't be pessimistic. He's like, I'm not being
That's like.
pessimistic. I'm just being realist.
See, that's what I was saying. Is a realist a pessimist in disguise? Because I mean, that's a long road, to always wake up and thinking and expecting the worst. That's hard. That's
So,
hard living.
so I think that's sometimes a learned behavior too, because it depends on how long you've been living a life that wasn't a life you wanted to live
Mm,
when you're not a born
okay.
optimist.
Right. Okay. So, can a person truly be realistic? Be a realistic optimist without compromising either principle?
Okay, you cut out there for a minute, so repeat that.
Is it, can a person truly be a realistic optimist without compromising either principle?
Yeah, I feel like I am.
Okay. So I guess
I live in the real world, but I'm optimistic about it.
okay.
Like
So okay.
I know that I have to have a job every day. Like I know that I have to do this because I know I need to have a steady income right now, but I'm very optimistic about where my life is headed.
Mm. Right, I get that. I mean, yeah, that makes sense. It's some people that don't think you could be both, but I like you just said, I think that you can. Right, you could be a realist, you could think realistic and think inside the box, and still think outside the box and be and be an optimist. Because I feel
I'm
like
I am
in
never in the
order to
box.
yeah, I don't like to put myself in a box either. Because you know what happens when you put yourself in a box, you putting a cap on your ceiling, like you're stunting your growth. You're saying this is.
Even in my realisticness, I'm still never in the box.
I mean, and that's good. That's a good way to be because I don't set limitations for myself. I want to break barriers. I want to exceed everything there is to exceed in life. That's just me. So
Mm.
I can't fit in the box. My ego won't let me fit in the box. My head is too big to fit in the box.
Oh, now, if we're gonna talk about ego, we're gonna have a whole nother conversation.
I mean, we can say that for another time.
You're gonna
Um,
have to, you're gonna have to bring me back for another conversation about ego, because that's a whole nother part.
absolutely. I even make a note of that. Um, does excessive optimism hinder realistic preparation for challenges and setbacks?
Absolutely. If you live in the clouds, yes.
All right. And I think that's the way of the world currently with the whole social media thing. You
Yes.
know, people are
Yes.
not thinking for themselves these days, and it's
Yes.
tough, right?
Yes.
And I really think we as parents or adults we definitely need to put a stop to certain things. We need to limit our kids
Absolutely.
on the social media and electronics, right? Because
Yes. Yes.
yeah, because
Don't
every
give it to
nowadays
them.
even like nowadays everybody wants to say, "Oh, I'm gonna be a YouTuber" or something like that.
No.
You
Yeah.
know what I'm
No.
saying? That's
Yeah.
that's it. My kids watch. Drive me crazy. They watch all kinds of. They subscribe to all kinds of this family that, and it's like I don't know. And they think that that's what life is about, and it goes against everything I try to teach my kids. I try to teach my kids that like you actually got to work. You actually got to have empathy, right? You got to understand the difference between empathy and sympathy. You got to be caring and compassionate. You know, especially I got three sons and one daughter, so not so much my daughter. She young, but my sons, I need them to know these things. I want them to be the best version of themselves as a man,
Mm-hmm.
as a provider, as a husband one day. You know, as a parent, I need them to be
Mm-hmm.
the best version. And with the social media and stuff, they're not going to learn anything like that. My kids give me a hard way to go when I say, turn that YouTube off because you're not going to learn that way. Do something
And
educational. Go ahead.
can you tell me how old your kids are? Your sons in
So
particular?
okay. So my oldest, he'll be 11, August 20th.
Hmm.
I have a 5-year old, a 2-year old, and my daughter is 15 months.
Okay. So take the fucking phones out of their hands.
Yeah, I try. I try. But you know what's the difficult part is everybody got to be in this, on one accord. Now, if I'm at work or something, or their
I
mother's at
know.
work and somebody else is watching them, we all got to be on one accord. Otherwise, it's building a space of chaos, of
Hmm.
disorganization, confusion. You know what I'm saying? Everything's in a disarray, and that's
Okay,
the
I'm gonna
thing that
say it
I
differently
struggle with.
then. I'm gonna say it differently then. Set boundaries.
Yeah, you're right, but it like again, everybody got to be on one accord.
No, I know.
It's like people complain. They say, "Why can't I get the same respect that you get with the kids?" Well, because I set boundaries. I have structure. You know what I'm saying? It takes you a long way. The things that we criticize our parents for growing up, as we get older, we realize things. We understand why there should be boundaries. There should be guidelines. There should be rules. It should be structure. And that's what I preach to my kids. Like I used to yell a lot at my kids, but then I had to change that because it got me nowhere. So nowadays I sit there, even though it gets on my nerves, I'll sit there and I'll talk right through it. I'm like, listen, I'll allow you to speak. Well, allow me to speak first. If you want what you want, give me what I need. All right. It's a quick pro quo. You know, it's a give and take. And that's the way of the world. You can't go nowhere in life think you're going to succeed if you don't have that mentality.
We got a whole nother episode we can talk about now. We can talk about kids.
Yeah, kids, ego. We can talk forever about ego because um. Okay, so does prioritizing practicality hinder creativity and ambition?
Absolutely. You can't
And
put
what
them in
would
the
you?
same box.
Right. You thought like creativity, ambition, and
You
then
gotta set time apart for both,
right,
right? So you got your practical time and you got your creative time. There
right,
has to be time for both.
right. That
Like
balance.
that's yeah, there has to be balance in your life for both. You have to you like I set very clear boundaries around when I started this journey of my podcast, of when I was going to be creative, when I was going to be working, and when I was going to have my family time. I,
Okay.
and I have not strayed from that. I will not be successful if I stray.
Right. Right.
Very clear. I've done enough businesses and I've done enough of this in my lifetime that I know that I have to be clear with my boundaries. And
Right.
that's what you're asking me in that question.
Right. Okay. So here's a good one for you. Should personal finance decisions be guided by optimistic expectations of future prosperity or practical budgeting and risk?
You have to know your boundaries with your personal finances versus what you can afford to put into your optimism.
Okay.
Does that make
Okay.
sense? So
Yeah, go ahead.
if your personal finances don't allow for you to put into your optimism, then you need to create another avenue to allow your optimism to grow,
Right.
right? So if your job only allows for your personal finances, then you need to have a side gig that will allow for your optimism to grow.
Okay. And I think that'd be a struggle for a lot of people that are optimists because optimists is all about being hopeful. So a lot of people, that goes back to what I said earlier about excessive optimism. Um, a lot of people they just so hopeful, thinking like, oh, I'm in a financial bind right now, but as long as I keep doing X, Y, and Z, as long as I continue to apply myself,
You can't let your
I
family go hungry though.
you're right. You're right. But a lot of people make that mistake, and they keep saying, "All I gotta do is this." You know what I'm saying? To get myself out of this. But the problem with that is it's sort of like procrastination. You continue to keep saying the same thing, and meanwhile you're
Yeah.
digging a hole deeper. So
Yeah.
I I when it comes to finances, I don't think that should be built off of optimism. I don't live my life like that. I need to, you
I've
know what I'm
done
saying?
it before. I know it can't be I know it can't be done.
Right, right, right. So since you have your own business and stuff, so in business, is an optimistic belief in success essential for entrepreneurs, even when the odds are stacked against them?
I think you have to have a little bit of a business plan
Mm,
and somewhat of a you have to have some kind of a plan in order to make it work.
right,
You can't just go in completely blind
right.
in order to
I
make
got
a
you.
business work. You have to know what you're working with. And if you know
Yeah,
nothing, go do some research.
I got you. And a lot of people don't know what a business plan is, and I didn't up until what last year, about summertime, June, July last year, because I got my hands in a lot of things right now, trying to do a lot of things, and I know that I will. So let me take away that word trying to. I will do these things. I bought a truck that I'm converting to a food truck. I got a lot of equipment already in it. But it's a process, just like anything else in life. So what I did is I bought a lot of literature from Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, things of that nature on how to
All
successfully
you
run a
needed to
food
do
truck
was call
business.
me.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know you did, but so and then so what I found out is you need a business plan. So then I started writing my business plan, which I still have to finish. But like I said, I got my hands in a lot of things. I do my podcast, which I try to do on my days off, like every week. I just started writing my autobiography 3 weeks ago, so that's moving. And on top of that, I have 5 dogs. I have my kids and I still got to go to work. So, like I said, I have my hands in a lot of things, but hey, I'm motivated. I'm motivated. Now, and sticking with that word motivated, do you see yourself as a motivator?
Absolutely. Don't let that business plan go out without me looking at it.
Huh?
Don't let that business plan go out without me looking at it.
I got you. I got you. Um, so you're well versed in business plays. Like you written a lot.
I've written 5.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Yeah, see, that's what's taking me forever because I am a perfectionist as well. So when I'm writing it, like I said, I'm a storyteller. I like to be a good writer, you have to be a good reader. So as I read it, I'm like, I feel like I can fine tune that to make it better. And in all actuality, what I should be saying is it's just a business plan.
No,
But I
it,
like
it,
perfection.
the banks don't care about your story anymore. They only care about your bottom line.
Yeah, that's the truth. So a lot of people are quick to justify their inadequacy with an excuse, right? Like if anyone, and I like to tell people, if anyone looks like you and they made it and they're successful, right, then your excuses are now out the window, right? A lot of people, oftentimes people, um, they make excuses. They'll say, I can't be successful because I live in this town or this neighborhood, or they might say, I'm overweight, I can never do this, or I'm undereducated, or my parents didn't provide this for me, right? And that's what's wrong with America, right? Society, we make a lot of excuses. Um, but today I say this: if like I said, if a person looks like you, right, meaning not appearance wise, but like if they're in the same shoes as you, and they exhibit all these things, all these reasons why you said you can't be successful. If they exhibit the same things and they become successful, let that be your blueprint. You can no longer make excuses because somebody proved that coming from where you came from or having these inadequacies that you can do it. Right? You agree with that?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because it's almost like they did
Yep.
it. What happened to them? Right? If they was able to do it, why can't you?
Yep.
Um, like I feel like overall, I feel like people should just drop the excuses and focus on the why not me piece, right? Like,
Absolutely.
because from there, it's all about once you start focusing on why not me, then it's all about listening and speaking, right? You got to
Mm-hmm.
speak things into existence, and you have to listen, right? Because the reason why I say you have to listen, you gotta watch other people around you as they be successful. See what works for them and see how you can apply that to your life. And you got to listen as well. Somebody might try to guide you and give you instructions on how to be successful. So you have to listen. A lot of people don't know how to have active listening, right? Um, like also, I think that so when we talk about social media before, I think that there's a direct correlation of what we consume, right, to who we are.
Absolutely.
Like if we have to pay attention to what we're watching, like meaning like the social media and all that stuff, and we also have to pay very much attention to the people we surround ourselves with, the people we hang out with, because like if you look at it this way, if we hang out with people that complain every day, all day, constantly, then what's going to happen to us? We're going to become a complainer. So it's like when people in different tax bracket, you're not going to see a millionaire hang out with somebody that's poor. You're just not going to see it in different tax bracket, different league. So if we want to be successful, we have to surround ourselves with successful people. That's just the formula. That's the blueprint of life. And a lot of people don't do that. They're so content, or they get hung up on what appears to be cool or who appears to be cool, then they lose sight of their own goals and ambitions, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Um, so you have to first decide that you can, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, if you can't go through life telling yourself that you can't, because it's over for you at that point. Once you have in your mind that you can't do something, you will never be able to. And you said it earlier. You got to know yourself. You got to be honest with yourself. You got to know yourself. You got to have you got to know what your limitations are, but don't set limitations, if that makes sense.
Yep.
All right. And we both said it earlier. Like we have a thirst for knowledge, and I feel like the more people that have that kind of mindset, uh, not just themselves, their loved ones and the community even, are be in a better spot, right? Because it's thriving. Like I know where I live, a lot of people, It's a place called Lakewood. A lot of Jews bought all the land and property, and they're successful. And a lot of times people say, why the Jews got all this? Or how can they do this? That's because they come together as a community. It's not
Hmm.
individualized. It's not it's about teamwork with them. And they all put their hand in the pot and they all come together to make their community better. And that's what we should be doing,
That's right.
you know? Um, so, I speak on important platforms like this. And what I try to do is get one person out of the foxhole at a time. I don't think I'm Superman or a superhero. I don't try to save the world all in one shot, right? I don't try to do that. My whole goal is to try to uplift somebody, inspire people, motivate people, one person at a time, you know? Um, so, like a lot of people in society, they're so quick to tell people what they should be doing as opposed to doing it themselves,
Hmm.
right? Because as we
Yep.
all know, it's easy to delegate and dictate, but it's hard doing the actual work. And if we're not doing the work, we're not putting in the work, that just means we're being lazy.
Yeah.
And laziness is a recipe for disaster when you talk about success. So I like
Agreed.
that you put a smile on your face. So before we get up out of here, is there anything else you want to add?
No, this has been a wonderful conversation, Desmond. I think we're onto something here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. It's definitely been a pleasure speaking with you. And like I said, you're more than welcome to come on any other time. And we already got two topics that we agreed that we could speak about. So that's always a plus.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Uh,
I'd love to tell your story someday on my podcast. I think you got one that I could tell.
Absolutely, and if I'm not mistaken, it's an app or a form you gave me, right, that I can
Hmm.
schedule. Yeah, so I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna look, if it's a day off that I have and it fits in your schedule, then I'll definitely do that. So because listen, networking is key as well, and I love doing this. This is therapeutic for me. So getting on your platform, it'd be an honor.
Well, and what you said, you're a storyteller. I'm a storyteller. I don't interview, I tell stories. So our platforms are very different. So it would be very fun to have you on to tell your story through my lens.
I like that. I like that. So, like I said, we'll definitely stay in touch. But I mean, like I said, if you don't have anything else you want to add, we'll end up for today.
I think the only thing I would add is I hope you have a wonderful evening and you really think about everything we talked about today.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I said, we're gonna stay in touch. But so that's gonna conclude today's episode. We hope everybody that's been watching, whether live or on the replay, I hope everybody enjoyed it. I hope you got something from this. I hope it was motivational. I hope it was encouraging. I hope you feel enlightened. Continue to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm all about positivity, so I love everybody that support me and also support Miss Heather Holt. And until next time, have a good day.